Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials. Good morning, it's 8:30 on Sunday the 31st of January. Just making my way down to the land, and as always, not quite sure what we're going to get done today, but let's find out. Well, here we are down on the land, and it's a bright morning. Sun is actually out behind those trees, very bright, but as you can see from the field, it's very chilly. -5 when I set off in the car this morning. Lots of ice scraping on the windows, and really that's the only reason I'm down here this morning. You remember yesterday I was talking about sorting out my long-term food stores, which is what I do want to do today, but I just wanted to pop down, make sure that everything's okay, scrape the ice off the panels and just generally check everything. I might start my portable mains generator as well today. That's not been started for a while, but I won't be down long. I'll be mainly at home today, and maybe you can catch up with me there when I go through my long-term food stores. But for now I'm going to get the cabin opened and get warmed up. It takes a bit of doing, but there's a clear difference when you start scraping the ice off and just give it a fighting chance to get the most benefit out of this bit of sunshine that's coming our way, because I don't know how long it's going to last. Well, it's certainly cold. Sun is trying to get out behind the trees, but it's taking its time. Fire's lit, so that's nice. It's warming through the cabin. We've got the first two panels cleared off. I can't reach the others without a large set of steps, and I don't really want to be climbing up there. Not with ice on the roof. So I'm going to get myself a cup of coffee and a couple of little tiny chores, and then that'll be me. I'll be done. Well, I just wanted to give that mains power generator a little run for half an hour or so. I don't start it very often, and with the temperatures been as low as they have lately, I just want to make sure everything's working okay, which it is, so that's good. I'll let that run now and have my coffee. Well, apologies for the background noise. I'm just running the mains electric generator. It's not been started for, must be a couple of months now. So nice to see that that's started up okay. Got a fire going just to warm everything through. Got the coffee to warm me through. I don't know what's up with this weather lately. You just can't seem to win. You get the freezing temperatures, and then they disappear and the rain comes, and you think, oh, that's it now. And yet today, it's back with a vengeance again. Scotland today, or I say today, overnight, was -13. So I bet they're not enjoying that up there. We had -5 when I set off this morning, and that's cold enough. I just had a quick look at the temperature gauges. The one outside the cabin door, that wasn't too bad. It was literally just under freezing, kind of hovering between 0 and -1. And the cabin, to be fair, was okay. The garden room was sitting on 0, and in here it was about 2 degrees. I can't quite see it now, but clearly it's not 2 degrees now, because I'm getting quite toasty sat here next to the fire. As I said earlier, this is just a very quick visit, just to check everything's okay, do these odd few chores, things like the mains power generator, just making sure that that runs okay. I'll leave that for, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour, just to get it nicely warmed up, and I'll probably top up with some fuel as well. I noticed when I moved it that it was feeling a bit lighter than it normally does, and when I shook it I can hear it, the fuel rattling around. It sounded quite low, so I'll just top that up. It makes you think when we get these temperatures. It is all a learning curve here with everything pretty much that I do, and these minus temperatures, it's just another one of those things. Stupid things like padlocks freezing on the gate, the pipes for the water. Yeah, I did think that inside the cabin it wouldn't be too much of an issue, but clearly it is. So as we go through the year, there'll be a few upgrades going on so that we're ready for next winter. Things like wood for the fire. It's amazing how much wood you get through, even just lighting a fire occasionally, let alone trying to run it constantly through an extended period of a week or, God forbid, a month. So whilst it is a challenge and it can be a chore sometimes, by the same token it is valuable learning experience. So anybody who is thinking about going off grid, learn from the things that I discover and the mistakes that I make as I go through this journey. There's an awful lot of valuable information in the videos that I've put out, and I'm not saying that to try and impress upon you how good I am, because I'm not. I keep saying it. I'm not an expert in anything. All of this is a learning curve, and it's valuable lessons learned. So if I can help other people along their journey by making those mistakes for them, and by discovering, such as the garden room, what works and what doesn't, then I've done my job. I've helped somebody else along the way. And that's what this prepping community idea is all about, really. It's it's doing things to try and put some useful information out there for others to help them along their journey. Anyway, I'm going to get this coffee down me, do my few small chores that I want to do, and then I need to get back off home, because this weekend really for me is about long-term food stores and seeing what I have and what I haven't got, and I'll do a few little video clips, kind of a follow-on if you like from that video I put out a week or so ago about feeding 2 people for a week. It's along those lines really. It's learning what the best items are to store, and you'll probably see some of the they're not mistakes, but some of the lessons learned that I've discovered as I've been using my long-term preps through the year. So a little bit of interest for you on food, as well as a little visit to the cabin today. So short but sweet, but hopefully there will be something during the course of the day that's useful for you. That's it now. I'm going to get my coffee done, get these chores done, and I'll catch you all later. Well, that's the little test run done with the generator. I'll just have a quick peek, see what we've got. Yeah, that one's a little bit, it's probably about half full, so we'll just top that off. Just make sure I don't overdo it. a bit to go yet. Tiny bit more. If I seem to be overcautious, it's because I am. I've done this before and overfilled it. And I don't want to do that. I think that'll do it. So there we go. Another little job done. Well, since we're on maintenance day, I've just pulled another red tractor out. You've not seen the tractor for a while, and to be fair, it's not been started for a while, so nice to see that running. I'll just give that 15 minutes or so just to warm itself through, and I'll check the fuel levels on that as well. Well, we'll just give that 5 minutes to cool down and we'll get some fuel popped in. The tractor's thirsty. Well, there we go, another nice little job done. Well, that's me back home now. It was a bit of a short trip down to the cabin today. I did want to just make sure that everything was okay with the sub-zero temperatures that we had last night. And it is important to keep on top of the more mundane things like checking the generators work, refueling them, and equally making sure that the little red tractor is all well and good, and to just top off the tank on that as well. I can use that can that I filled up with today. I've left it in the back of the car, and as I go to work tomorrow, I'll just call in the petrol station and get that filled back up again, just to make sure I'm keeping stores of fuel down at the cabin. So now I'm back. I'm going to get myself quickly organised, grab a cup of tea, and I'll start rooting around in the roof space and see what I've got up there. Any holes that need topping up on the long-term bulk stored foods. And then I'll pop down into the kitchen and take you along with me so that we can do a follow-up really off that video on feeding 2 people for a week that I did last weekend, and just go through some of the cans that I store and a bit of lessons learned as I've gone through the year and rotated various things out. I quickly discover what are my favourites, what I like a lot and what I don't like so much, and the benefits of each really, because some are more beneficial than others. You get far more bang for buck of some of the canned goods. So it has been a lessons learned as I've gone through this year. As and when I've rotated them out, I've just made a mental note of, do I really want to keep storing that, or am I better replacing it with something else? And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about in these next few little video clips. Well, I'm just working my way through the various buckets and totes that I've got for long-term food storage up in the roof space. It is literally everywhere. That's some of my older ones in there from 2015, 2016, when I was storing in soda bottles. So I'm busy working through this, but this wasn't really what I wanted to talk about. But I need to do this first because I need to update my my little record, and I've also got some additional bags that I topped up with recently that I need to get vacuum sealed. So I'll finish off up here, and then I'll pop back down to the kitchen for you, so you can see the canned goods, which is really what I wanted to talk about. Well, we're just vacuum sealing some of the extra preps I've picked up over the last couple of days. Just topping up really on rice, pasta and porridge oats, plus of course some canned goods. But I'm trying to get my staples, my bulk dried food, such as the rice and the pasta. I'm trying to get that to 1 year. It's slowly but surely getting there. but it's a lot of bags, and I do have to find space to store it as well, which is not the easiest of things in such a small house. Anyway, I'll carry on with this, and then I'll get to the bit that I really wanted to talk about.
Well, those of you who have been viewing the channel for a while will know that I've got a very small kitchen, so keeping stores of canned goods can be quite a challenge. But as you can see, even in the smallest of kitchens, there is still plenty of space, if you think about it, to store an awful lot of canned goods. So what I'm going to do is pop out a selection of these onto the counter, and we'll talk through them, what worked, what didn't work, and what I'm storing more of than others.
Well, here we are in the kitchen, and there's a bit of a range of eclectic mix of stuff going on the counter here. It's actually quite difficult to know how to do this, so forgive me if I do make it up as I go along, and if I jump from theme to theme. Again, apologies for that, but I'll try my best not to. So it's really working through the long-term dried stores and canned goods, and kind of letting you know from my experience of rotating these through my everyday meals to see what worked and what didn't, and what I would want to discount from storing, and what I want to store more of. So we'll leap straight in, and we'll start off with what you've seen in numerous videos, the long-termed dried bulk foods. And there's a variety of these, but the majority of my dried goods long-term store you've seen in that video last week. So there's porridge oats, which I use for making breakfast porridges, and this is fairly simple and straightforward, because all you're literally doing is getting the rolled oats, adding in some water, and then if you want to add a little bit of sweetness, you can use honey, you can use golden syrup, or you can use sugar. You can make it with milk or without milk. Yes, the milk is a little bit creamier, but bearing in mind this is long-term prepping food, while you can store powdered milk, it will soon run out, so I would err on the side of using water and then sweetening to just get around having to mix up powdered milk into liquid form just for the sake of a bowl of porridge. So that's that one. The rice, you've seen that in numerous videos. Again, extremely good long shelf life, easy to store, easy to cook, and it goes with pretty much anything you can think of, whether that's sauces or meats or indeed fish. So again, that's something that I store an awful lot of, and it's a very simple solution and to make filling meals. Pasta, again, you've seen that. As with the rice, very easy to store, keeps forever, and again, very easy to cook. And it goes with a variety of these different canned goods that I'll go through in a second. And then finally, other types of beans that I store and use regularly kidney beans for making chilli. While I do have the meal in a can style chilli ready-made, as a long-term food store item, these and other types of beans are excellent because they provide a lot of filling for the meals. So I can make some rice, I've got sauces that I can use, whatever wild meat I can scavenge for and hunt for, I can use that in a chilli with these beans, and again produce a really good filling meal. So that's the long-term stores of dried goods. There is one other one to add to this, which will become apparent shortly, and that's flour. If you have flour and yeast in your preps, then you've got the makings of bread, both to use as a filler or a snack meal, and just generally as a comfort food. So I do store lots of flour, both this plain variety that I use for bread and also the self-raising variety which you use for making cakes and biscuits. But predominantly it's bread flour that I store. So flour and yeast as part of my long-term dried goods. Yes, loads of that, because you are going to want bread as a staple food source once something does hit the fan. I'll just pop all of this out the way for a second, because I'm rapidly running out of space to hide things out of camera. Kind of connected with bread as a snack food or a filler, I also store things to make the bread a little bit nicer and more of a meal. So there's peanut butter there, and then there's the chocolate hazelnut spread there as well. Both of those good comfort foods, both an extremely good source of calories as well. So again, that's something that I do store, and they equally have a really good shelf life. Sort of connected with that, and again it is a dried food, this is a dumpling mix. So I do store quite a lot of these. You can use these when you're making your stews, again just to bulk out. So if you didn't have bread, for example, then making these dumplings and popping those into your stews or soups, again, is a good source of filler for bulking out your food and making what could be a small meal into a more substantial and quite hearty meal. If you are going to be making your own soups or stews, then again, something you might want to think about as a staple in your prep. Again, this is on the lines of dried food stores, your stock cubes. So I generally keep chicken and beef and vegetable, so that I can make my own bouillon when I want to make stews, or if I'm eating something that's not particularly great in terms of flavour, then I can add these into maybe a chilli or some other kind of meat style meal, just to boost the flavour up. So again, very useful to have in your preps. Talked a couple of times about snack foods. I do store a lot of different canned soups, and I do that for a couple of reasons. First of all, they are a nice little snack meal. So if you have your bread, or indeed if you want to make some dumplings to throw in there, that will bulk out the meal. So they're a meal in themselves, but also, and I think I've done this in a couple of videos, you can use some of them as a sauce for your pasta or your rice or your spaghetti dishes. And a good example of that would be this one, which is chicken and mushroom. So you could use that if you were short on meat. There is meat in this soup, so you could make a simple pasta, chicken, mushroom and pasta dish out of the canned soup. And similarly, you could some of the others. If you were wanting to make a chili, then you could use a tomato soup if you didn't have the sauces in your long-term food stores. Talking about which, I do have a variety of sauces in my stores. I was collecting an awful lot of these jar style ones, the glass jars. This one happens to be sweet and sour, but there's a whole range of them out there, from basic tomato, which is what these Tetra Pak style cartons are. That's just pure tomato sauce. And the canned one, the jar ones, tend to have different flavoured varieties. Some of the ones I have are garlic, mushroom would be another one, and this one, as I say, is sweet and sour. So you can use these with your rices and a little bit of meat to make a sweet and sour rice dish. Or in terms of your pasta, you could use your basic tomato or maybe your mushroom and onion one to make a pasta meal out, and add in whatever meat that you happen to have on hand. So I do store these. I am tending to work out the glass jar ones because they're difficult to store. You can't make a brick of them like you can with these and save on shelf space. These do waste a lot of shelf space. And whilst there is merit in that the glass jars are reusable, in all honesty, I'd go for space and easiness of storing over the potential benefits of having some glass jars. Yes, you could reuse these if you were canning, but I don't do canning for a whole host of reasons, and I won't go there right now. So sauces, yeah, lots of those in my preps. And finally, on the subject of snack meals, we've got the old ramen noodles. These are really, really good. They're very, very quick to make. They're quite a filling meal because it's noodles, obviously. And if you wanted to create a bigger meal, then you can add meat into these. And on the subject of meat, there is a whole host. But with these noodles, generally, what I do is get some of these canned hot dog sausages, chop those up into little cubes, and throw those in, and I can either just warm them through with the noodles as the noodles are cooking, or I could, if I wanted to, make a stir-fry kind of meal out of these. And the same kind of thing can be said for some of the other canned meat that I keep. I've got a chopped pork and ham there, and this is another cooked ham. And really, these are excellent for snack meals with such things as your noodles. Or if you were making bread, then you could make really nice substantial sandwiches out of these tins of ham. Similarly, you could cube them into small cubes, mix them in with a sauce, or if you didn't have the sauce, perhaps a chicken soup, and make a pasta dish out of those as well. So these canned meats are really versatile. And I'll talk a little bit more about canned meats in a second. I'm running out of space now at the other side, so bear with me. This kind of brings us on to the main event, if you will, which are the other canned goods that I have. And you'll have seen some of me spit it out. You'll have seen me use some of these in that video last week when I was feeding 2 people for a week, and I cooked a variety of different things. So some of those are here. But in terms of meats, I carry a variety. I have tinned sardines. You'll have seen me use these in various videos in the past, and I did mention them last week in that video. There's corned beef, and then there's the famous bacon grill, or what our American cousins call Spam. All of these very versatile and can be used in a variety of different dishes. I mentioned rice with the sardines, but equally I have these generally as a snack or lunch meal. So I'll warm these up, pop them on some toasted bread, and there's an instant meal straight away. And with the amount of calories and protein and oils in fish, it's actually quite a healthy and substantial meal. Same can be said for the corned beef. You can have that with some vegetables perhaps as a main meal, or if you were having a snack meal or a lunch, you could have that in sandwiches. And then probably the most versatile of them all is this bacon grill. This is probably the one that's packed with the most calories. Let me just quickly look at this can. Yeah, so per 100 grams, you're talking 296 calories on just 100 grams, and there's 250 grams in this can. So it is an awful lot of calories. And these I would generally use as a main meal. I would slice these up, fry them off, and then have them probably with some of the vegetables, you know, potatoes and some green vegetables. Now I've mentioned vegetables, let's bring those in, and there's a variety of them here, all of which are for different uses. So we've got the biggest staple probably is the potatoes, and I carry both canned whole potatoes and a supply of the instant mashed potato, and you'll have seen me use both of these in previous videos. I used to carry an awful lot of these sachets of mashed potato, but in terms of lessons learned, again, as with the glass jars of sauces, I find that these are difficult to store. They're paper cartons, so it is easy to damage them, and they are quite large. And once you start trying to stack these, you eventually find that you get 2 or 3 high and they don't stack properly anymore. You also need quite a bit of water to reconstitute the potatoes. So as a long-term solution, I am moving away from mashed potatoes, and I'm gradually rotating these out of my stores in favour of storing more canned potatoes. In terms of other vegetables, I do carry a variety of different ones. We've got sliced mushrooms there, we've got sweet corn there. I do have some chickpeas and some actual green peas as well. We've got tomatoes here, and then we've got mixed vegetables. Now in terms of canned vegetables, again from a storage perspective and a lesson learned from how versatile they are in cooking, mushrooms do go with everything pretty much. You can fry these up and have them with your meats as part of a meal. Alternatively, you can put them in to bulk out your pasta meals, or indeed soups. So if I had just a plain chicken soup in a can and I wanted it to be a bit more filling, I could drop in these sliced mushrooms. Similarly, sweet corn, excellent vegetable, but again it's quite versatile. Again, with the pasta dishes, you could pop that in to bulk it out, or you could pop it into chicken soup to bulk it out and make yourself a sort of Chinese style chicken and sweet corn soup. So I do intend on keeping storing these. The tomatoes, predominantly for your pasta dishes, whether you're making a chili or a spaghetti bolognese, something like that. But in all honesty, I am rotating these out. Sort of bang for buck in terms of value. They do take up a lot of storage space, and in reality, if you've got jars or the small Tetra Pak style brick sauces, you've already got a sauce. So there really isn't that much benefit from having these. So again, I'm starting to rotate these out of my stores, and I probably will stop completely storing those and just rely on the pre-packed sauces for my meals. So the final two really are the potatoes and the mixed veg. Those will be my staples moving forward. The can of mixed veg gives you all the different types of vegetables all in one can, rather than having to store several different types of vegetable and just taking up that valuable space. So that's moving forward. I will be using just those two. I'll gradually rotate out the ones that I have. I might keep the mushrooms and I might keep the sweet corn. I guess we'll see as we go through the year. In terms of making meals, out of these, your staple potatoes and veggies. You'll have seen me in a previous video. I used these canned burgers. Now, whilst these are all right in terms of you getting a lot of meat in that can, they're not really that versatile. And in all honesty, I think if you were relying on these, it would become a little bit bland if you were to have these for any particular length of time. They're all right as a one-off, and I did actually store quite a lot of these just because it was simplistic, it was cheap, and it was meat. But having gone through the year and experimented with different things, I am actually going to start rotating these out, and I'll stop storing these. They're not really as versatile as the other meats that I could use, and I'll touch on those in a while. So it is a bit of a lesson learned for me. The idea was great at the time for price point on these and kind of calorific value, but they are a bit bland, and with it being reconstituted meat, I think you would get fed up with these after a while. So I am rotating those out. Moving forward, and we're kind of going back to basics here with our long-term bulk stored foods. That's something that I'm really keen to start expanding my preps. You'll have seen me use a variety of these in recent videos. I've certainly mentioned them all in recent videos. Whether it's with pasta or whether it's with rice. In terms of the rice, you'll have seen me use this chili in a can. I was a bit sceptical when I first started storing these because they are actually quite cheap. Certainly versus the brand name varieties. This is a cheap supermarket's own label style chili. But I've had these quite a few times now. You saw me use it in a video last week. And in terms of bang for buck, they are actually very good value. I think, if memory serves, these are something like 50 to 60 pence, whereas the brand name ones are over £1. I didn't find any real difference between these and the brand name ones in terms of taste, and certainly in terms of the calorific and protein values. So that's something I am going to store an awful lot more of. Although I do have quite a number of these now, I think as a long-term staple for meals, I can't go wrong with that chili. So I will definitely be storing a lot more of that. Something else you saw me use was this chicken in white sauce. I prepared that as a meal for that video last week, and I'd not really used this before. I'd stored it, but I'd not really made meals out of it until I made that one in the video the other week. And I have seen cans of these with very little chicken inside them. What portion there was really, really small pieces. But as you would have seen in the video last week, the pieces of chicken in this are actually really big. And when it says it's a serving for two, it is actually true. Again, I was sceptical, but I did make two really good sized portions out of these. So this again is something that I'm going to be storing a lot more of. I intend to build up my stocks of this. You don't just have to use it as part of a meal, whether you were eating it as part of a potatoes and vegetables meal, or as I did the pasta meal. As the label suggests, don't know if you can see that or not, you could make pies with it. So versatility, yes, I'm going to start using or storing an awful lot more of this and make it one of my staple foods. The other ones that I mentioned in that video last week, you didn't actually see me cook. But as with the chicken, stewed steak, I did actually eat one of these the other day. It's a shame I didn't video it, but maybe another time. These are more expensive because it's beef, and there is a bit of a debate still in my mind as to how much of this I would want to store. But having had the success of the chicken and perhaps some failures with other items that I was storing, such as the hamburgers, then I am erring towards getting a lot more of these. And as with the chicken, you can use it in a normal meal with your meat and veg. You could make it into a curry. You could even get away with making that into a chilli. And you could make it into a pie. So a lot more variety. So I am coming down on the side of storing more of this. I just have to get my head over the fact that it is expensive. So I guess I'll be looking for sale items, but I do intend to store more of that. Tinned curry. It is what it says on the tin. You just literally open it up, throw it on some rice, and you've got a meal. So I do stock a lot of this. It is very, very simple to do. All of the flavourings are already in there, so why wouldn't you? And I'll continue to store quite a lot of that. Finally, I did mention meatballs when I was talking about spaghetti or pasta meals last week. I've had quite a few of these now, and to be honest, it's a little bit like the hamburgers that I was talking about earlier. It's reconstituted meat, so I think you would soon get bored of this. And you've got to be really careful which one you get, because the sauce flavouring differs greatly between different brand names. So this one's not too bad. It's in a tomato sauce, and I have had this with spaghetti and pasta just to try it out and see how it compares to ones I've had previously. It is okay, but when I bear in mind what I can do with all of these others that I've talked about, I think again, in terms of bang for buck, meal variety, this is something that I will be rotating out of my stores, and I'll be using what I have now and then probably not be storing that again. I'll be going in favour of the steak, the chilli, the chicken and the curries. We're down to a couple of last snack items now, or filler items. Again, I've mentioned some of these before. I've done ravioli before. Again, depending on which brand you go for, there is a difference in taste and quality of meat. I actually have this normally at the weekend for lunch, just to do something quick. So it is beneficial as a quick snack meal. You can have this, or I normally have this on toast. And while it is cheap and it is convenient, it is a little bit on the bland side. So again, I'm starting to rotate this out of my preps and not have that as a quick snack meal. And it is really difficult to have this with something else if you wanted to make a more substantial meal. It doesn't really go with rice. You've already got pasta, so it doesn't really go with the pasta. And it certainly doesn't go with potatoes and veg. So whilst it is a convenient snack meal, if you want to keep a few of these just as a something quick and easy to make style of meal, then do. But I wouldn't store a lot of this, and I am gradually rotating this out of my preps. This was something I tried as an experiment. It's spaghetti bolognese in a tin. Taste-wise, actually, it's not too bad. But the spaghetti is very, very small in size. It's a little bit like something you would feed a baby. And there is more spaghetti in there than there is meat. Again, when I first started out, I stored quite a bit of this, both to experiment and for cheapness and ease of getting something that was a ready meal in a can quickly into store to build up my my duration of my stores. But again, I am inclined to rotate this out of my stores. It's not really going to go with anything else, a bit like the pasta, I guess. So it is an easy and quite cheap snack meal, but there isn't a great deal of meat in there. So when I compare it with these others that I intend to build up on, in terms of versatility, it's not great. In terms of meat content, it's not great. really the only thing it's got going for it is its price and its ease to make. You literally just heat it up and you've got a spaghetti bolognese. So again, it's something I'm going to be rotating out on the basis of what I've learned as I've been going along. Last things on here, staple snack foods, or indeed you could use these as part of a bigger meal. My favourite, beans and pork sausages and just plain old beans. Snack meal on toast. If you're making your own bread, beans are great. Beans will go with all of your different meats that you might want to have, and maybe some mashed potatoes, some boiled potatoes to bulk out. Same can be said for the beans and sausages. I store lots and lots and lots of these. They are a really convenient, quick meal. You can open this up, you can throw some potatoes or make some French fries or even mashed potato, and you've got quite a substantial meal. If you just want a snack or a bit of lunch, I generally warm these up and throw them onto some toast. So there we go. That's a fairly quick run through of the type of stuff that I store in my long-term preps. The good stuff, the bad stuff, the indifferent stuff. Hopefully it's given you some ideas as to what you might want to store. It's maybe given you some ideas of what to avoid because while some of these are really cheap and convenient, the taste isn't there and the meat content isn't really there if you're going to be surviving on these as part of your long-term something hit the fan scenario prepping. But that's generally the idea of pretty much all the videos I do. It is to give you some lessons learned from what I've found as I've been storing and using my preps. So hopefully there is something in there that's been of value to you.
Well, that's it for this video. I hope there was something in there that was of interest to you. If you did like the video, please do click on the like button. Also feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, I welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. What do you think? Is there anything in there that you're storing, the same as I am? Or is there anything that's not in my preps that you think I should be adding to my preps? Let me know in the comment section below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.